The film opens with a suspenseful scene on a rainy night. We see a woman named Jennifer being chased by an unknown man. Terrified, she tries to dial emergency services, 911, but her call frustratingly doesn't connect. Spotting a white pickup truck nearby, she bolts towards a public restroom in a desperate attempt to escape. While the shadowy figure checks the stalls, she manages to slip away and races back to her car. However, just when she needs it most, the car refuses to start, amplifying her panic. As if things couldn't get worse, the mysterious man reappears right in front of her. Thankfully, the engine sputters to life after a few cranks. But in a moment of sheer terror, she slams on the gas only to find the car lurching backward. Trapped with no other option, she throws open the car door and takes off running. However, tragedy strikes as a passing car collides with her, leaving her unconscious. Jennifer is rushed to the hospital for critical care, but the medical staff can't find any identification on her. While doctors fight to save her life, her husband, Russell Williams, bursts into the hospital desperate to see his wife, but is denied entry. Shortly after, the head nurse informs Russell that the accident caused bleeding in Jennifer's brain, leading to amnesia. This means she can't remember the events of the previous night, or even her past life. The next day, Russell meets with Detective Frank Page, who grills him about his wife's strange situation. The detective is perplexed, trying to understand why Jennifer would be alone at a rest stop in the dead of night, with no ID on her person. Russell insists his wife simply went for groceries that night, and he hadn't heard from her since. He emphasizes their relationship was solid, with no recent arguments. The detective then reveals Jennifer's car is missing, and his initial investigation will focus on locating it. Before departing, Page gives him his contact information and expresses his desire to speak with Jennifer once she's conscious. After a few days in the hospital, Jennifer finally emerges from unconsciousness and discovers flowers with a loving note from her husband. Soon after, a visit from Russell brings a wave of trauma due to her amnesia. He introduces himself and explains her name is Jennifer Williams. Hoping to jog her memory, Russell presents her with photographs of the two together. He recounts their shared past, mentioning they used to work in the same place. Jennifer seems interested in learning about their history, even asking about her parents. Russell, with a sorrowful expression, explains that her parents tragically died in a fire 2 years ago. Meanwhile, Detective Page questions the driver who struck Jennifer the previous night. The driver maintains he saw no one else at the time, but adds a crucial detail: a white pickup truck towing another car with a cable just before the accident. This detail sparks a memory in the driver, who finds it odd that he only now recalls the pickup truck. The scene shifts to an unidentified man arriving at the hospital with flowers for Jennifer. However, the nurse restricts visitors to family members only. The man insists he's simply a concerned witness from the accident scene and hopes the flowers reach Jennifer. With a lingering suspicion, Russell watches the man leave. The following day, Jennifer seems to be adjusting well to Russell's presence, and they spend the day together in the hospital. After a few days, Jennifer is released, needing a cane for support as her leg hasn't fully healed. Russell takes her to their mountain home, hoping familiar surroundings will jog her memory. He starts by showing her their wedding photo, hoping it will spark a connection. However, as Jennifer wanders through the house, unsettling fragments of the past flicker in her mind. Her inability to recall the events leaves her feeling constantly on edge. While preparing a meal, Russell receives a call from Detective Page with a weak signal. The detective reveals they haven't located Jennifer's car. He questioned 2 witnesses who saw a white pickup truck near the accident scene, one even suggesting it might have been towing her car. Detective Page then requests Jennifer visit the police station the following day at 11 a.m. Russell hesitates to accept the request, given they just arrived home, but the circumstances force him to agree. Later that day, Jennifer inquires about Russell's earlier phone call. Her husband, now displaying a veiled suspicion, claims it was a work-related call. Since they were colleagues, Jennifer asks if she could take an extended leave. But Russell asserts that she left the company when they decided to have children. He also explains they rarely see friends after moving to the new house. Finally, he mentions buying her a new phone as the police haven't found hers. We then cut to the man who previously visited Jennifer with flowers. As he approaches the house, Russell suddenly appears, questioning his motives for sending them. Consumed by his twisted possessiveness, Russell loses control and brutally attacks the man, eliminating any potential competition for Jennifer's affection. He then takes the body home and buries it in the backyard. Shortly after, Jennifer wakes up and calls out to her husband, sensing someone outside. To her shock, she sees Russell in the backyard, and wonders what he's doing there so late at night. The next day, Jennifer doesn't pry into why Russell couldn't sleep the previous night. He informs her he's heading into town to run errands, including buying her a new phone. However, Russell seems to have forgotten about Jennifer's appointment. Detective Page attempts to call Russell, but reaches only voicemail. Determined to speak with Jennifer, the detective searches the police database for Russell Williams' address. Oddly, there are no results for Russell Williams in the county he resides in. Puzzled, Detective Page asks a colleague to track Russell's cell phone number. Meanwhile, back at home alone, Jennifer flips through old photos of her and Russell. A smile spreads across her face as she reminisces about their wedding day. However, the joy is short-lived. One photo catches her eye. Russell's hair color appears different from how it looks now. This inconsistency sparks suspicion, prompting her to descend downstairs and investigate Russell's laptop. She tries various passwords, including her full name, but remains locked out. Moments later, Russell returns home. Jennifer quickly feigns busyness, searching for something familiar to anchor herself. He presents her with the new phone, but upon powering it on, she realizes there's no signal due to their mountain location. We cut back to Detective Page, who arrives at the address Russell provided to the hospital. However, the house belongs to a different resident, unfamiliar with any Russell or Jennifer Williams. The detective calls his colleague, his mind swirling with questions. How did Russell reach the hospital if they had no contact information for Jennifer's family? Regarding the phone number, the officer informs him it was a temporary, untraceable burner phone. Later that night, as Russell leans in for a kiss, a surge of traumatic memories overwhelms Jennifer, forcing her to pull away. This infuriates Russell. After all his efforts during her recovery, his own wife rejects his touch. Guilt washes over him, and he apologizes, retreating downstairs to monitor Jennifer through his laptop. Meanwhile, at the police station, Detective Page reaches out to the head nurse, requesting hospital security footage. He asks them to search for any recordings of a white pickup truck with a winch from the night Jennifer arrived. With Jennifer lacking identification, Detective Page ponders how Russell established himself as her husband the prior night. The head nurse clarifies that a doctor's note mentions Russell showing family photos and identifying a back tattoo. The detective's mind races as he spots a photo of Jennifer with a matching back tattoo. He then receives a security email that sheds some light on his earlier questions. It reveals that the white pickup truck mentioned by the witness actually belongs to Russell. The next day, Detective Page heads to a local tattoo parlor, hoping to decipher the meaning of the tattoo design in the photo. The tattoo artist examines it and explains it signifies the name Alan. This prompts Detective Page to search the database for Jennifer's identity using Alan instead of her married name. With her maiden name, he discovers Jennifer cohabited with her parents in San Jose. He races to the address, only to find the door ajar. Pushing it open, he discovers the house appears deserted and neglected. A foul odor hits him, and a horrific truth dawns: Jennifer's parents are found dead inside. The next morning, while Russell showers, suspicion gnawing at her, Jennifer attempts to snatch his wallet and hide it. She then feigns a desire to cook dinner and asks Russell to buy groceries. Once he's gone, she frantically searches his wallet, finally unearthing her driver's license, a crucial piece of evidence bearing her maiden name. Meanwhile, Detective Page relentlessly pursues his investigation. He visits Jennifer and Russell's former workplace, where an employee reveals they both quit just before their wedding. The man then shows him a photo from a company retreat, depicting Jennifer and Russell Williams together. This photo serves as a bombshell: the man who brought Jennifer home is not her husband. He's actually their co-worker, Ryan Gardy, who even appears in the photo alongside the real Russell Williams. Detective Page discreetly inquires about any leads to locate Ryan. Back at the mountain home, Jennifer races to what she believes is Russell's office. The laptop password, to her surprise, unlocks with her maiden name. As we, the readers, and Jennifer witness Ryan's photo editing process, she stumbles upon the unedited original photo of Russell Williams. A flood of memories washes over her, and she realizes the perpetrator behind her trauma is Ryan, not Russell. She also discovers the internet cable has been severed. Meanwhile, Ryan, realizing he's left his wallet behind, rushes back to the house. Jennifer, in a desperate bid for help, flees the house, searching for a signal on her phone. But to her horror, she discovers Ryan has tampered with it. Jennifer keeps running, but stumbles and falls near the spot where Ryan buried the body. Out of nowhere, Ryan appears and strikes her head with a rock. Regaining consciousness in her bedroom, Jennifer demands answers about what Ryan did to her husband. Enraged, Ryan restrains Jennifer with a chain on her leg and exits to fetch supplies. Moments later, Jennifer awakens from her daze and struggles to break free. Successful in her attempt, she limps out of the room, drawn by a putrid smell emanating from the garage. There, hidden amongst other belongings, is her car. Frantic, she searches and finds her phone. Just as Ryan returns from the store, Jennifer dives into the car for cover. He opens the trunk, revealing the source of the stench, the body of the real Russell Williams. Seizing the opportunity, Jennifer dashes back inside, unable to reattach the chain in time. She hastily throws a blanket over her legs. Suspicious of the bulge beneath the blanket, Ryan reaches to uncover it. Their tense exchange is interrupted by the sudden ringing of the doorbell. Detective Page stands at the entrance. Ryan begrudgingly allows the detective onto the property. Stepping inside, Detective Page casts a scrutinizing gaze around the house. He notices the Williams family nameplate, a stark contrast to the information he possesses about the real psycho man. Additionally, the detective has finally tracked down the white car, the single crucial detail provided by the witnesses. Jennifer desperately tries to alert the detective, shouting for help and directing him towards the back entrance. But as Detective Page reaches for the doorknob, Ryan explodes through the front door, rendering Page unconscious with a swift blow. Trapped and helpless, Jennifer is dragged back to her room by Ryan. He retrieves a rope, his next move clear. Returning to the room, he binds Jennifer's hands, silencing any potential resistance. Fueled by a twisted sense of entitlement, Ryan lays bare the truth behind Jennifer's fractured memories. He confesses to a long-standing fascination with her, a fixation that morphed into obsessive stalking over the years. Enraged by her choice of Russell Williams, he embarked on a murderous rampage, eliminating not only Jennifer's parents and Russell, but anyone else deemed a threat. Ironically, Jennifer's amnesia alters his plans. He contemplates ending her life as well, but ultimately decides against it. Meanwhile, trapped inside the locked freezer, Detective Page fights for escape, desperately trying to break free. Taking advantage of Ryan's temporary absence, he's downstairs attending to Detective Page's car and fetching water. Jennifer frantically searches for a lighter to sever the ropes binding her. With a determined effort, she manages to set herself free just before Ryan re-enters the room. His eyes widen in shock as he sees the empty chair. His captive has vanished. Jennifer creeps up behind Ryan and unleashes a barrage of blows, rendering him unconscious. Adrenaline pumping, she dashes down the stairs, her descent punctuated by a painful tumble. Driven by the urge to escape, she pushes forward, ignoring the throbbing in her limbs. Unfortunately, Ryan recovers quickly, shattering the locked door and giving chase. Meanwhile, the detective bursts free from the freezer, determined to stop this nightmare. By now, Jennifer and Ryan are deep in the woods, Jennifer desperately evading his grasp. She attempts a surprise attack from behind, but it fails, sending her tumbling down a slope once more. Just as Ryan corners her, seemingly intent on ending her life, Detective Page appears on the scene, tackling Ryan to the ground. As they grapple, Jennifer seizes the opportunity, grabbing the gun and firing. With a resolute shot, she eliminates the threat, killing Ryan instantly. 3 months later, Jennifer has regained her full mobility and visits Detective Page. He reveals his plans to relocate and pursue a fresh start, including dating prospects now that he's divorced. As the film concludes, Detective Page presents Jennifer with a letter from Russell Williams, delivered by their former boss. The letter expresses Russell's unwavering love for Jennifer, a testament to his enduring devotion.